Welcome to English Podcasts. Relax and enjoy your listening practice.
All right, welcome to Yellowstone National Park. And before you picture some quiet forest with a few trees and a cute little trail, let me stop you right there. Yellowstone is not just a park. Yellowstone is a living, breathing, steaming, bubbling, almost alien place. And the best part? Most people have no idea what they're actually standing on when they visit. Now first, let's talk about the name. You might think Yellowstone comes from yellow rocks or some bright golden canyon, right? Well, you're not wrong, but it's deeper than that. The name comes from the Yellowstone River, and that river got its name from yellowish stone cliffs along its banks. French trappers called it roche jaune, meaning yellow rock, and later it was translated into English as Yellowstone. So yes, it really is named after yellow rocks. But what's wild is this. Those yellow cliffs were stained that color by minerals and heat, the same geothermal forces that still power the park today. And when I say geothermal, I mean it. Yellowstone sits on top of one of the largest volcanic systems on Earth. Let me say that again. You are literally standing on a supervolcano. Yeah, not a normal volcano, not the kind you see in movies with lava pouring down the sides. Yellowstone is more like a giant underground engine. It's the reason the ground here hisses. It's the reason rivers run warm. It's the reason the park smells like sulfur in some areas, like someone left a dozen boiled eggs in the sun. Now here's an interesting fact most visitors miss. Yellowstone has more than 10,000 geothermal features. 10,000! Hot springs, geysers, mud pots, fumaroles. It's basically Earth's pressure cooker. And speaking of geysers, you've probably heard of Old Faithful. Old Faithful is the celebrity of Yellowstone, the park's superstar. And yes, it's called Old Faithful because it erupts pretty regularly, roughly every 90 minutes. But here's the fun part. Old Faithful is not the biggest geyser in Yellowstone, not even close. The biggest active geyser is called Steamboat Geyser, and when it erupts, it can shoot water over 300 feet into the air. That's taller than a 20-story building. So why don't people talk about Steamboat more? Because it's unpredictable. It might erupt today, or it might wait 6 months. Old Faithful is basically the reliable friend. Steamboat is the dramatic one who shows up whenever he feels like it. Now, let's talk about the hot springs, because Yellowstone's hot springs are on another level. The most famous one is the Grand Prismatic Spring, and if you've seen photos of it, that insane rainbow color, you might think it's edited. It's not. Those colors are real. They come from heat-loving bacteria called thermophiles that live in the water. Different temperatures create different colors, so the spring becomes this natural living heat map. It's like nature decided to paint a masterpiece using microbes. And here's another interesting fact. The water in some hot springs is hot enough to kill you in seconds. So yes, it's beautiful, but it's also deadly. Yellowstone is basically the kind of place that looks like a postcard, but quietly reminds you, I was here before you, and I'll be here after you. Now, one of my favorite things about Yellowstone is that it's not just geothermal. It's also one of the best wildlife parks in the world. You've got bison, huge prehistoric-looking tanks walking around like they own the place. And honestly, they kind of do. Yellowstone has the largest bison population in the United States, and people always underestimate them. They see a fluffy-looking animal and think, oh, it's like a cow. No. Bison can run faster than horse, up to 35 miles per hour, and they weigh up to a ton. So if you ever visit, here's a pro tip from your guide. If a bison looks at you, you are too close. Now, another fun fact that surprises a lot of people. Yellowstone was the first national park in the world, not just in America, in the world. It became a national park in 1872, and at the time, that idea was revolutionary. Imagine someone saying, hey, let's protect this huge area of land, not for money, not for mining, but just because it's beautiful. That was almost unheard of back then. And because of Yellowstone, the national park idea spread across the planet. So in a way, Yellowstone didn't just change the map, it changed how humans think about nature. Now, let's finish with something that sounds like a movie plot, but is actually real. Yellowstone's volcanic system is still active. There are thousands of small earthquakes here every year. Most are too small to feel, but they're happening constantly. The ground rises and falls in some areas like the park is breathing, and scientists watch it closely. But don't panic, Yellowstone isn't about to explode. That's a popular internet myth. The truth is, Yellowstone is active, yes, but it's also stable in the way that giant natural systems can be stable. And honestly, that's part of what makes it so incredible. Because Yellowstone is not a museum. It's not frozen in time. It's alive. It's one of the few places on Earth where you can watch the planet's inner power happening right in front of you, in boiling water, erupting geysers, steaming valleys, and colorful springs. So the next time someone says, Yellowstone? Oh yeah, I've heard of it. You can smile and say, yeah, but did you know it's a supervolcano? And trust me, that conversation gets interesting very fast.